everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Voices Beyond Borders, the podcast where we explore ideas, people, and ecosystems shaping the future of innovation and entrepreneurship in Lebanon and the world. Today's episode takes us deep into how innovation ecosystems are built, how entrepreneurship can elevate societies, and how building bridges is important now more than ever. Our guest today is Karl Gedda, Director of SmartESA, the incubator and accelerator of ESA Business School. Karl is an innovation expert, an ecosystem builder, a former entrepreneur, and a strong believer in the collective intelligence as a driver for transformation. From coaching deep tech companies to building public-private partnerships to advising governments on innovation and creating ecosystems, Karl has seen it all in Lebanon, across the globe, everywhere. Karl, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I feel like it's not me, but it's okay. I've not seen it all. I've not been on the seat of the venture capital.
Okay, potentially in the future then.
Yeah.
Thank you so much and welcome to Voices Beyond Borders. Karl, before we start our huge list of questions, if you don't mind telling us who Karl is in a few sentences.
Okay, I'll be short. You mentioned my professional past, so basically I'm a little like a world adventurer and adventurer in my professional life also, moving back and forth between being a coach, consulting, and entrepreneur. An entrepreneur, as everyone understands, but also when building innovation ecosystem, being a public-preneur, as I say, because it's like being an entrepreneur, but in a public-private partnership.
Okay, perfect. So, Karl, if you want to talk a little bit about your journey, as we mentioned, you worked in innovation and consulting, in building ecosystems, academia as well. So, if you look back at your personal and professional experience, why do you strongly believe that innovation is a collective effort and not an individual one?
Okay, that's a tricky question. Thank you, Francesco.
Putting you on the spot.
Yeah, right away. You cannot be alone to build innovation. And innovation anyway is to fit a market or some people needs. So you need to understand these needs. It's true that through the media there is this image to be like an entrepreneur as Superman saving the world, but it always starts with like some collective thinking, and that's the best way to start it because you need to listen to people. So not only you need to listen, but you need to have some kind of empathy for them to understand what is their real needs, how they are going to work.
That's important.
Especially if you're in B2C, business to consumers. So yeah, it's usually it's a collective effort, and it's pushed this way to go faster. It's just that being collective helps you to absorb different point of view, and so you can have an innovation that will be better, deeper, and that will answer more needs. Exactly. And to go back to your first questions, this is one of my problems since I'm born, is that being multicultural is like, I'm going to say something schizophrenic. It's like I'm several persons at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
So giving a different point of view on things. And so I've always been like questioning and being like a change maker because I felt like there was not one truth, basically. So
exactly.
And I will give an example because it made me laugh, and at the same time, it made me mad. This Tuesday, Paris-Saclay, which is where I worked, they're making a Paris-Saclay summit. I don't remember when, but it's like in 1 or 3 months. And the propaganda, the slogan was like, choose science, which is kind of a joke against Trump. Like, don't be religious and stupid. But science is a religion too, in a certain way. And also, we can see, even through science, only what our culture, our language allow us to see. And worse than that, I would say, there's some kind of, I don't know how to pronounce it in English exactly, anthropomorphism that we project our own belief on what we see. And I will give an example through Darwin. For Darwin, it's survival of the fittest.
True.
And because it was a projection of the 19th century thing, and I'm not sure Darwin was so much the fittest, and what he called the fittest was the one that was the most agile to adapt. But society changed it into the fittest, like the strongest. But soon after, a woman that was more like into collaborative and this kind of thing, she discovered, no, that's not how it works. 2/3 of the time, it's more symbiosis. And that's how our body works. We work in symbiosis with the bacteria inside us. If we kill the bacteria, we're dead. Our own cells are symbiosis of old bacteria with our cell, like for the mitochondria and this kind of thing. So everything is symbiosis and cooperation. Cooperation is over competition most of the time to adapt and to survive. So, yeah.
Exactly, 100%. As you mentioned, symbiosis, collaboration, ecosystem. It's very important to thrive, and we're gonna dive back into this a little bit in a while to connect it to the entrepreneurship ecosystem, especially in Lebanon. But we just here in your answer, you mentioned, or a little time, like sometimes innovation, and sometimes when people think of innovation, they immediately think of technology, or having a technological advancement. In your opinion and based on your experience, what is the basis of innovation and why is it important today?
Innovation is basically, it sounds like stupid what I'm going to say, to bring something new or to bring a new perspective on a problem, basically. Of course, there's a confusion today between innovation and technology, especially digitalization, I would say.
Exactly.
Because to bring something new, very often you need to dig in a new technology or to dig in a technology that was not applied in a certain area. So when I started to work more into innovation, not like helping innovation to grow in market, but really thinking on creativity, one of the very good thing that was to do was to check how are they doing in something completely different. For example, you're in logistics and you're going to see what are they doing in hospital to look at the organization on something different that you could bring a new perspective in the way of doing things. But basically to innovate is just this. It's like to bring a new perspective. And as an innovation, you need to be viable. So you really need to be desirable by the people that are going to buy it, basically, and feasible with the technology. One good example is the smartphone, or before the smartphone, the mobile phone. People study would say there's no need because no one could express this need, but it's a non-expressed need. The non-expressed need is people want to be connected with their loved one and so on. So, of course, if you say, if you cannot project what the new tool is going to be, the new device, the marketing survey is going to be bad. And that's something really also very hard with innovation, you need to have people that are bright in the marketing survey. I will go back to Ford. He would say, like, if I ask what my clients want, they will ask me faster horses, because they cannot imagine you're going to do a car, exactly. Basically. So you need to understand that they want to go faster, and safer in a certain way. And so you need to turn around, and if you just put a blunt question, you get a stupid answer. And that's one of the problems for entrepreneurs sometimes. I kind of advance in the talk, but it's not knowing how to listen to the client, or I would say it's not only listening, it's like having tentacles to get the data, basically.
Exactly. Karl, you just mentioned here a little bit about innovation, and earlier we talked about collective intelligence or ecosystem. So when we're talking about innovation ecosystems, also spanning your experience of 15 years creating these ecosystems either in the US and Europe, what are few key ingredients in order to create a healthy innovation ecosystem? Especially, you've been in Lebanon for a couple of years now, so you know the troubles we go through, you know the challenges that we face. So in Lebanon, what are some few key ingredients in order to create a good, healthy innovation ecosystem?
Okay, I'll start from the beginning of the question. First, ecosystem. I will go back to, although I'm not a biologist, but how observing how things are in nature. And it's also something which is really important because it's like culture. Culture set a point of view. The 19th century science was like really physics, but like basic physics, mechanics. So we see everything in boxes and things like this, wheels working one with the other. When you look at economics as an ecosystem, it's live and it's connected. And in an ecosystem, you cannot say, in a natural one, you cannot say that the lion is stronger or at the top more than the tree. There's no tree, there's no more zebras, there's no lion. So it's all interconnected and working together to survive and to adopt and this kind of thing. So one of the main challenge is like moving from a post-war world that was like really doing business branches, like I was going to say like dictator, like pyramid, but like with major groups. For example, this is how the car industry was organized especially starting the end of the 60s and so on. Like really business branch with the OEM at the top and all the other ones like subservients. I would say an ecosystem is like giving more freedom to all the actors to have their own life, and so. This is something one has to learn. And in this, you can be proud of your organization and proud of yourself without putting your ego always in the middle of the room, because that doesn't work, basically. So
again, an ecosystem is circular. It's not pyramidal.
Yeah, it's circular. That's something that was hard also in France, because, for example, I worked on the creation of what we called in French pôle de compétitivité, innovative clusters. At first, the state that was part of them in the organization had a tendency to want to put itself at the top, but slowly it decreased because also the regions were there and they were like, oh, we want to be at the top too, so get down. And so it slowly moved from something a little square, not completely pyramidal, to something more circular where everyone can find its place, and there are exchanges. Like the startups need to work with the universities to get access to some labs and so on. They need to work with the groups, especially in B2B. And the groups need the innovation from the startups to
each player
move faster.
has a different role to play, and it all feeds into one purpose, one goal.
Regarding Lebanon, there are some structural things that are missing. First, we I feel like I'm Lebanese. we miss investors a lot. So there's like a part of the system which is missing. There's also another part which is missing, which is okay and not okay, is like Lebanon has universities. It's like too bad that the research from these universities is not really watering, I would say, draining the ecosystem, irrigating the ecosystem. To have more like tech startups, basically. So that's really something that need to be pushed. Those are the two like spots that are really missing. I would say also the media. The media are not enough involved into it to show
highlight exposure.
Yeah, to highlight exposure. One thing which is good though is that the ecosystem is working. Like when we were to Vivatech all together, that's something that, for example, if I compare to France where I was before. It took from when was Mr. Macron, Minister of the Economics. Okay, the ecosystem really started in France like 1999, but it took Macron when he was Minister of the Economics to create the French tech for the whole thing to get one brand basically, and to stop like fighting between cities. Within inner cities,
14 years for that to happen.
Yeah, it was like 2015 or something like this. 2016, yeah, actually. So 15 years before the people stop fighting against their neighbor and like co-work together. So that's one of the things. So, but it's really patience, but it's really like knowing when to cooperate and when to compete. And cooperation needs to be at least 60 to 80% of the work.
That's important, exactly. Carl, you just mentioned about the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Lebanon. And part of that ecosystem is the incubators and the accelerators. You are currently the director of SmartESA, which is the incubator and accelerator of ESA Business School. From your work and experience working with SmartESA, how is it different than other players in the ecosystem? And why is it really elevating the entire status of the ecosystem in a way as well?
Okay, SmartESA has a few advantages, natural, I would say. First, it's a flagship, which is to send some entrepreneurs to Station F, which is the biggest incubator place in the world. And the link with Europe, basically, especially for France, but not only. The fact that France has moved itself from a bureaucratic country to an entrepreneurial one with a big scene for ventures, so easier to raise funds, I would say. That's one thing. But the other thing is that we try to give to SmartESA a role to be a sting to the ecosystem, to wake it up, because it's kind of
The disruptor.
yeah, to be the disruptor, to like move things because it's too sleepy. It's like the scene has fell asleep before the blast, basically the crisis and everything. So we need to be like more like challenging and moving the ecosystem.
Exactly. Carl, we mentioned a little bit about the challenges that entrepreneurs face in Lebanon or the ecosystem is facing. In your opinion, what is one change, a drastic change that is needed to push the ecosystem forward, not just on a short term, but have a long and impactful reach?
Okay. I mentioned two things already. Try to bring regular investors to be investors into startups. So it's like understanding the probability of failure of a startup and the probability on the contrary to make you millionaire, or at least to make times 3 or times 10 what you gave. The relationship with research, but also the relationship with the current market. So it means that the big family businesses not only need to be investors, but they need to be market for these startups. So it's really getting also the business to be more involved in innovation in general, to work more with startups. That's one of the things. And the fourth thing would be the entrepreneurs to be real entrepreneurs. What I mean by this is not just like a fashion to be entrepreneur.
It's not a trend.
Right now it's trendy, but the point is that am I fit to be in this trend? Do I have the patience? And again, what do I have to propose to the market? Is it really going to fit the market? Is there a pain point? How do I reach the people that have this pain point? Right now, I see a lot of people pitching their ideas, and their idea is like a bubble with a lot of makeup, but there's no real strategy or substance. The substance, I wouldn't always say no, but there's no strategy to get to the market, basically. It's like if I do, there's this idea and it will come by miracle that I get 2% of the market, basically. So need to have it's a pain point for entrepreneurs, but the roadmap, how do I go from 0 to selling 100,000, 200, to reach my first million in sales and so on. So this is like extremely important to understand the market and really to understand it under the microscope, I would say, to know what to do exactly.
Exactly, that's important. Do you think here, aside from the incubators, accelerators, or business support groups, does the government or the public sector play any role in also elevating this ecosystem and helping these entrepreneurs?
Somehow, yeah, they are involved. First with Mitai, the Minister of Technology, which is really involved in pushing for technologies on this kind of thing. I would say some other ministers also. Minister of Education, which is helping us to push for entrepreneurial spirit within the school and getting the technologies more into the schools, but also the creativity side. They really balance the both. Ministry of Economics with like supporting clustering also of the economics, because it's actually, you have two legs with innovation. One is the entrepreneurial with startups, and the second one is clustering. So you need to have both. The clustering is building the ecosystem, basically. So you cannot have a startup alone, so you need to have both legs to be able to work.
Exactly. Karl, you mentioned at the beginning that one of the flagship programs of SmartESA is a soft landing program. Basically, one startup gets to go to Incubateur HEC at Station F and actually get established there and work there. I have two questions here. One, why is it important to build these bridges between Lebanon and Europe or the GCC, basically any big market? That's one. And two, how can these entrepreneurs and these startups that are going to these new systems and countries and ecosystems benefit truly from them, aside from just going there and getting a training?
Okay. um, First, Lebanon is very small. It's a small market. So unless you're in B2C like Total, that where you can have a city, it's a good start, and then spread along. Right away, you need to spread your products on different markets. So the best way to do this is right away to know how to adjust your product or service to these different markets. Second, it's not only the market of goods and services. A startup is really on the market of financing. There's no way of getting finance nearly. I would say I'm a little tough, but in Lebanon, the banking system is hardly working. There's hardly any investors. So you need to go abroad at one time, keep one of your leg here or your foot and the other one abroad to raise funds, also to get more structured, adapt to the cultural business of Europe, because it's a big market next door. You can dream of going to GCC, but it's a tough market, I think. And America is far. And at the moment, it's not really the nicest one to go. But Europe is next door. And even Europe is bigger than North American market most of the time. So it's good for the entrepreneurs to go there to see another way of doing business. I would say slightly less agile, more like
Bureaucratic.
Yeah, bureaucratic and rigorous in a certain way with a lot of rules. Yeah, it's bureaucratic, the rules, but it's also rules like for norms and this kind of thing to follow up. And because the ecosystem there are really big, so they get challenged by other entrepreneurs, and it's really always very good this way.
Exactly, Karl. So you're talking here basically is using Lebanon as a sandbox. Do your testing, do your market here, keep operations, part of the operations here, and use the other market, which is bigger again. If it's Europe or GCC or North America, use that to get structured, get the funds, get the perks of being in a bigger market as well. To conclude our interview for today, if you had one advice for one entrepreneurs who want to start something in a complex environment, or for players who want to create an ecosystem, what would that advice be?
To entrepreneurs, just look for a pain point that they think that they can solve in a better way. That's all, and get fully passionate about it. Because if you don't have the passion,
The first problem you were just, I'm gonna leave
collapse.
it. Exactly.
Maybe not the first, but it's really tough. So I've been entrepreneur twice, and I would give the last time I was, because it's a funny one. Basically, I was head of the Innovation and Strategy Department for the southwest of France for EY, and a startup was created, and they knew the venture capital knew I was building a lot of startups, because when I was in the southwest of France, the startup were asking me to be like a deputy CEO to help them talk to the media, the recruiting, and this kind of thing. So, can I take this one in, blah, blah, blah. Because a lot of the CEOs were like PhD students that were leaving the labs to create their startups. So it was asking a lot of support even after. So this venture asked me to take this startup, and basically the startup was created making carbon nanotubes. Carbon nanotubes are like it's like graphene in your pencil, but made into tubes, and it's like the medical thing that you take, but at a atomic level, basically. Okay. And those nanotubes it's really technological research. We're supposed to have a lot of things, so basically we were producing and we were trying to do fibers out of them. But what I'm going to say is that, so I went into it, but we had to pivot right away because try to sell also to do things for the space industry and so on. But it was a typical startup. That's what I mean. It's like right away from the south west of France, I had to go to Texas and California to talk with NASA to see if they could do and pivot, like not selling them nanotubes, but modified nanotubes. So we had to invest into more research and this kind of thing to adapt to the market. So it's just basically you always have to be super agile, modest, and accept that it's wrong or give up certain things. So that's what we did. So it's just like, but I thought it's not that it was funny. It's just like because people were thinking we were crazy because our propaganda was like to do a lift to go to the space.
No, so, but as they say, sometimes those who are crazy enough are the ones who actually create something and make a change.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. But that's another point is that to get the people, you need to also sell some dream. And that's part of the entrepreneur. It's not only selling the goods and services, you need to sell dreams to the investors or to the media, exactly, so that the media talk about you and that you can go forward. Yeah.
Karl, thank you so much for sharing your stories, your experience, and your expertise with us today. I'm pretty sure our listeners and our viewers will leave this episode with at least something new that they've learned. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And to all of our listeners and viewers, thank you so much for tuning in to a brand new episode of Voices Beyond Borders. If you want to know more about our upcoming episodes and guests, make sure to subscribe and follow us. And also, I would love to take this opportunity to thank our sponsors, the Embassy of the Kingdom of the Netherlands and Lebanon, for their continuous support of entrepreneurs, of the ecosystem, and for change. Until next time, stay safe.